I think university is not the best place to learn. Doesn't matter what you're studying. I'd invest in Grok, and I would probably short Anthropic. No, I would short OpenAI.
Why?
I think it's more the slope on the Grok team. They're doing something which I respect a lot, which is to hire missionaries for the data curation part. The morale is super high. OpenAI has gone through all this mess, right?
Do you think there will be a leading model that has not been created yet?
Yes, from China.
Do you worry about China?
I do think there's like a 50-50 chance they will have the best model. We'll be using a Chinese model at some point because...
Ready to go? Anton, dude, I'm so excited to be here with you in person. Thank you so much for joining me on the show.
It's great to see you. And thanks for coming to Stockholm.
Dude, it's great to be in Stockholm. I want to start, you just recently raised a great round, and I want to start with that. We're seeing a lot of money go into the space, and I just wanted to start with, is it a capital arms race and a case of who has the most money wins, or is it something else?
I think it's an arms race to build the best team. And then it's an arms race to build the best brand and trust from your users. And I mean, capital can help. For us, it's not a constraint at all. If you're building something like the best foundation model, it might be a constraint just because the compute for training and so on is so large. But for us, it's all about moving extremely fast and collecting the best talent.
So if we think about talent as the number one there, we've seen Zuck pay NFL-style contracts. I mean, like mega sums for the best people. How do you think about and analyze that, and how difficult it will be to get the best talent moving forwards?
I think for me, it's actually more difficult than for Zuck to know which engineers are going to really thrive, push the culture forward, push the ways of working in the products forward. For Zuck, it's like there's these 10 people that know everything about how to train foundation models, and he's more paying for that knowledge than for like these people. The talent itself is so good. It's pretty good as well. Totally. So it's very different.
Do you think you do not need the same caliber of engineering talent if you're working in the application layer?
You just did very different. I think like one of those people Zuck is hiring, they wouldn't perform as well as the engineers in my team doing what we're doing. So it's a very different type of talent. And like if I knew who was like the perfect engineers to hire, I could maybe step up our compensation bands to get exactly those. But I don't know who are the best people. So I need to just like figure out, are these really good people to work with? Are they moldable? Are they going to work well together in this team? And give like the compensation that you give on the top of market compensation rates for that.
You've built an incredible team, also like of less obvious talent in the early days, and then you hire amazing rock stars like Elena Werner. When you look at your hiring process, your talent assessment process, is there anything that's non-obvious? So like for us, I look for people who have either extreme trauma or extreme masochism.
Yes.
No, I'm being serious. I think not enough people are opinionated. You said brand is important. Great brands are opinionated. People love them or hate them. Lovable. Good example. But what is yours that is non-obvious about hiring or talent assessment?
So I like to think a lot about slope, and that like if I talk to someone and I learn a lot of things talking from them, and I notice that my conversation is like very dynamic and exciting, that is usually feels like a very good indicator that they're going to adapt to the organization, and their slope will be very high. Otherwise, I think there are good ways to just understand how did they perform. Like if I could be there with a video camera when they worked in the past, that gives me a lot of signals. So that's usually what I spend a lot of time when I'm talking to new candidates.
When you think about slope, it's noticeable with you, dude. Like we haven't known each other for a huge amount of time, but when I compare when I first met you to when I meet you today, it is still very different in terms of your leadership. Where have you not progressed where you would like to still?
I think I still operate Lovable in a very scrappy startup-y way, even though we're like at a later growth stage right now. So adding a bit more structure in a few key areas is somewhere I'm looking to progress or to start being excellent operator in.
The joys of this show and being friends is we can have a discussion, not like a one back and forth interview. Do you think you actually need that? We've had founder mode be so propagated and praised, and being close to the metal, Jensen having 52 direct reports. I would say structure and that middle layer is where slowness and apathy comes.
True. Yeah.
Do you think you need that?
That's a good question. I think I'm going to always operate with this, with most of my impact coming from like founder mode. But I do need, given that there's so many things thrown at me and coming in from all the different directions, to have kind of a protective layer that introduces a lot of order in like how do we prioritize all these incoming things, and that comes down to a well-running organization. If I'm and then you, for a well-running organization, you need a very organized manager or somewhere at the top. And I'm not planning to be that like
you don't
top
have that
percentile manager myself, but surround myself with great leaders who do more of the like organization.
Do you have a protective layer today? Because I
Yes.
get probably 25 intro requests for you a week, and I probably make one a month. Do
Yes.
you have someone who does filter?
I do, yeah. And it's a kind of a wonderful, chaotic protective layer that works together as a close team. And I don't really have like a name for it. It's just the people working close with me. I'm not sure who you've interacted with in the team, but it's so the team is made up of like previous founder type generalists that work closely with me, and I just work in terms of like quick feedback. This is not what you should be doing. This is what you should be doing. Works okay now. I think we can do even better.
So you said talent was number one and brand was number two. If we think about great brand, what does great brand mean to you?
I think a super concrete example is the Apple ecosystem, where they obsess about details maybe too much, so they move slowly, but that's what builds up trust and is a very strong brand. And that's what we're aiming for as well in every interaction. Like every time we update the product, how do we make sure we roll it out so that we really understand the users and how their reactions to all the things we're changing very rapidly in the product, in the company.
There's a couple of questions which everyone has where they will kind of throw them as a critique at Lovable or at anyone in the space. And I think one is protection, defensibility. When you think about defensibility today, is brand the core element of defensibility, or is there something that people do not see?
No, I think you need to build a product if you want to like maximally be defensive, where if you are on this product and the platform that product is, you don't want to leave because you have so much value that's you've created on the platform that you're getting automatically every day. So that's what Lovable is becoming, and this product building platform where Lovable today is your technical co-founder. We want it to be your co-founder in general that handles all the admin, setting up your finance operations. And if you're on a platform like that, you probably don't want to leave.
Would you say to all founders building in AI today from day one, don't worry about defensibility, it comes over time?
Yes, great question. I have a friend who has this fun analog in terms of an AI startup, which is that AI startups are like chickens shot out of a cannon up in the sky if you kind of start getting traction. And then it's all about flapping fast as a chicken, because there are new chickens shot out from cannons every day. And if you keep flapping faster than the other chickens, then you're going to do great. And I think that's a good like first level of analysis in how you should operate.
I'm just going to say, for any vegans that are listening, no, chickens were shot out of cannons. And that is the most extremely Swedish way of, it's the Reid Hoffman who says, it's about kind of running off the cliff or whatever with a paraglider and just kind of flapping. That works too.
Yeah, I think that's my recommendation, to just be like execute fast, grow faster. And then when you're starting to get up there, you can start thinking a bit about the defensibility.
Totally get you. That's the one criticism. Another is like, actually, when you look at these businesses, and a lot of people are criticizing this with your Replits, your Bolts, your Lovables, they're not actually very good businesses in terms of unit economics. And so much is passed through. So like bluntly, if I give you $1, how much is passed straight through to Anthropic and OpenAI?
I don't give you the exact numbers, but if you look at the paid usage, it's majority. It's not everything.
Okay. How does that change over time?
So as our business develops, we're looking to get most of our revenue once you, as a user, are like, I love this platform, I'm never leaving. But today it's only like in the beginning, you're paying to build pretty much. So over time, we just want to create so much value you stay on the subscription, and the small part of the cost goes to the AI compute.
Will you be able to make money through not optimizing models? And what I mean by that is, in the future, you may not need the very best, very latest model to do the simple About Me website. And so you can route users.
Yeah. I think as all applications develop, the AI is going to be adapted to those applications. And for most things, it's like super simple to do it. It's like you're driving a car and you're not thinking about what you're doing. So when you're in a new situation driving a car, then you're like, your brain really goes on fire. And we're not there. We're not close to being there yet. I think for us, it's too early to optimize for that, because the AI is every month is like doing new, completely different things. So we just want to be able to iterate really fast on what the AI is able to do, and not optimize the models for what it's doing.
That's really interesting. So you build for what tomorrow's model can do, not what we have today.
Yeah, to quite large extent, yes. And like what generally, when I think about models, they're the models that are like very thoughtful, deep thinking, and now we put as much of work on those models. In the future, it's going to be a mix in terms of when it's obvious what you should do, then it doesn't cost any money, it's super fast. But when it's a new situation, which building a software product often results in, then it has to think much more.
One other area where you can see real like margin expansion is also in token selling. Like when you think about like how you price tokens, given prosumers and consumers don't fundamentally often know the price of tokens, you can actually have quite a considerable markup on token usage. Do you think that is a place of real elasticity to gain margin or not?
Yeah, so we looked at like the number, this was a few months ago, but we looked at how much revenue is flowing through the AI from Lovable applications. Okay, and it was more than $10 million in ARR. And now all of that revenue needs the user to go through this like, a bit complex process of setting up the connection to the model providers. So that's something we're just simplifying. We're looking at simplifying. So stay tuned for how we enable more simplicity, first of all, for our users with that. And then if we can reduce the underlying cost, maybe we can take a margin there as well.
How do you think about mental plasticity to delay margin optimization?
Mental plasticity?
So like the willingness to wait for margins to come. And what I mean by that is like, if you look at Deliveroo, its margins are shit in the early days, and over time they get better and better as you have more and more people use it and more density, more orders in small areas. You've got to be patient, so to speak. Same with OpenAI, same with Lovable. How long does one think before you're thinking margin optimization?
I have these two conflicting pieces of perspectives on it. And one is I speak to Nick, who built Revolut, and he just tells me, like, Anton, you need to compute the payback time, and then you need to do super hard performance optimization on acquiring new users. And then you, of course, need to have a good like payback times in terms of profits per user, which makes sense. And then if you can do small changes on margins, it actually affects a lot on how fast you can grow. But the other perspective, which I index a bit more on right now, is you just want to have as much mind share and as many users who just love the brand as possible right now, and then you can think about that later. So exactly how I trade those two perspectives off is, I mean, you need to look at the weights in my neural network, but it's some combination of the two.
It's so funny. I think it's absolutely number 2, and then it's number 3.
What is that?
Which is Nick's. Which is like incredible performance optimization, really understanding funnel metrics from CAC to LTV, how you drive efficiency through the channels. And then do you know what's ironic? You kind of then go back after that stage to an art, which is where Nick is now, which is we've done that so well, we have to sponsor race cars because brand again becomes the most important thing. It's so interesting. You know that kind of bell curve where you see it up and then it comes down again. It's kind of like that on brand, where you have it at both ends of the spectrum.
I think if you can do everything at once, the company benefits a lot. but you usually can't. Like you should be focused.
What would you most like to do now that you're not doing or can't do?
So I would like to rethink how the applications are built. Like what is the best way to build an application, right? What Lovable does now is it takes all the best practices from decades of like how a great software products we built, but that's not how the future is going to look like. All software applications are going to have some type of AI. They're going to have extremely seamless payment and checkout flows, and that's something I'd love to for us to spend time on figuring out and making it possible for our users not to just have like a superhuman AI engineer, but to have a AI engineer that builds like the future of applications.
When we look at, we mentioned kind of margin optimization there. When we look at kind of the model providers, we said that it's one where you also have to have that mental plasticity. We saw OpenAI kind of suggest or proffer Lovable style competitors. To what extent do you feel OpenAI and Anthropic will come after Lovable in the way that Claude Code comes after Cursor?
I think in the long term, it just comes down to execution of a team. And I think many people are going to offer what we're offering today. We just need to offer much more when that time comes, and give a better user experience, give a better value proposition to our customers.
Who do you worry more about, OpenAI doing it or Anthropic doing it?
I think what we're betting on is to be like the gateway for humans, right? And be the best user experience for AI. And so far, OpenAI is doing that better than Anthropic. So I see them as a more serious competitor in 12 months.
Mm-hmm. How did you analyze GPT-5? And when you look at performance post, are you more or less bullish on OpenAI?
So we looked a lot at how GPT-5 would impact our users before we decided, okay, let's put this into the product. And we looked at how long time it took to get responses. We looked at our quantitative evals, and then we just vibe checked it in many different ways. And what we concluded was that it's oftentimes too like ambitious for our users. And that's why we decided, hey, this is very smart, so let's give it to all our users and see what they tell us in terms of like what's good and what's bad. What we found was that it's like for the use cases when you have to solve a really, really hard problem, it's great. And in terms of is OpenAI doing a great job, I think this was a really smart, obvious choice for them to say, like, we have these 5 different models that you have to select in ChatGPT. Let's just bring it down into one model, GPT-5. But they definitely should have done that. But it comes with a lot of trade-offs. And so far, I'd say they executed pretty well on it. The model is still too ambitious.
There's also a question of when you set the bar at AGI,
Yes.
and then you get model optimization and model routing, really essentially, which is what it is.
GPT-5, yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Like capability-wise, it hasn't been a step function improvement in what we had before.
No, I don't think the biggest part of GPT-5 that's disappointing is that now they have to optimize all these different things into one model. Before it was like different models, and they had to do it really fast. So it's inevitably going to fall short in some dimensions. And I mean, it just is a disappointment that you can't improve in all the directions at the same time.
How do you use OpenAI versus Anthropic within Lovable today?
So we have this very complex agentic chain where we pass the user's response, the application information through many different models, and we take really fast and small ones, and then we use for code writing. We usually use Anthropic, and right now you can say like, I want to use GPT-5, and that's better when you're solving a really hard debugging problem.
Super interesting, and you've seen it be better than Anthropic when it comes to a hard debugging problem.
Yeah.
What do models not do today that would be a step function change in what Lovable can do?
I think like something I'm super excited about is that the AI has more context about who they're talking to and how they should be answering to guide them through our specific application. And solving that problem is something that we have to do. And we have to do it both with like how we build this agentic chain and over time in building absolutely world class, paying $100 million for getting the people that train the models. So that's on the horizon for us to get it to like be hyper personalized for you specifically.
When you think about hyper personalized for you specifically and the users that you have, you recently announced 100 million ARR, amazing milestone to hit in 7 months. It's fucking nuts. For years, dude, it was like 0 to 10 million in 2 years was like the gold standard. That's what I was brought up on, which makes me feel really old, which is amazing to see. My question to you is, when you look at revenue breakdown of the 100 million, just kind of guesstimate, what is split between hobbyists, pro devs, kind of normal people? How does it fit between the different segments?
You're right. So people do everything with Lovable. They come with their idea to build a software business and product. And then there's a lot of people in large companies that use it as like, okay, now I can show what I actually think we should build in the business. And then they build a working product that then they can like decide, are we going to put this into our, give it to our engineering team, and they actually implement it. And then it's everyone else who build like their personal website, their small business websites, like in a few minutes. And 80% of people are in the first category. They're building real complex applications.
80% are building
in terms of revenue, 80%.
Wow.
And then the second segment is actually growing very fast because like enterprises are slower to wake up. But you might have seen this product leader from Google who says like, we're never again writing a document about a product. We have to use Lovable or something to build out a fully working demo. So that use case is also growing very fast. And in terms of the third use case, I mean, a lot of people have been burned trying to build nice websites in this like no-code website builders, Wix, Squarespace, and so on. And if you can just always do everything in Lovable and with a UX that I think is more sophisticated in moving fast, that's also growing. But I think the first two are the ones who are really like game changers.
Okay, so we go back. So 80%, is like actually building complex apps, and then 10% is enterprise and 10% is hobbyists.
Something like that. Yeah.
Is that what you want it to be?
So we want to build for the new generation of AI native founders that build like maybe one-person unicorns soon. And then the funny thing is that those people also have jobs maybe in large successful companies, and they want to help their friends and their family to build simple websites. So I think this is a good split.
Is that an optimal market to go after if you're thinking, oh God, I sound like such a VC, but like value extraction, which is like an AI founder building a mega business on Lovable? Great. You have to have a lot of mechanisms for value extraction, and be it payment solutions or you name it. But if they're single seat, and it's just like tough to get true value extraction from that, is it not much better to be hobbyist for everyone, for mum and pop, to build the About Me website where it's 7 billion people?
Like our mission is to enable a lot of people that have the opportunity to build businesses, but they have been held back by not being able to write code and like have access to capital to hire engineers. So it's obvious to start with the people who are going to build businesses, and then it naturally trickles down to everyone else as well as a function of that. I think those are the best people to start building for, and where you can extract value, I think less about that. I think about our mission.
We should have like a Lovable holiday fund, which is like every year we pay the most talented people within large enterprises for a week's holiday.
and they build their business.
Yeah.
So
and then they just use Lovable for the week. And after the week, they can see if they
quit
want
their job.
Yeah. I think it'd be the funnest thing ever.
I think it sounds good. Yeah. But I can just expand a bit on the business thinking there as well.
Yeah.
So, like the future, I think many of the largest businesses, they haven't been started yet today. And now with AI, you can move so fast. You can iterate much faster, close to your customers. You can drive prices down. And we want to be the enabling tool for that movement. And then I think over time, that's going to result in a lot of revenue. But like, if we can do all of these use cases that you're asking about at the same time, what our like use case percentage of adoption or revenue is going to converge towards is just what's the spend from enterprises? What's the end game spend from enterprises? What's the end game spend for consumers on tools like this if we continue to dominate this completely new category?
Obviously, I'm super grateful for you for taking my money, but the number one reason why I would invest in Lovable is because the market TAM, or the TAM expansion, is actually incomprehensible, which is like very much like Uber. You could never have foreseen the market expansion that would take place.
Yep.
Very much like Lovable, saying website builders is an X market is completely the wrong analogy to understand how big Lovable could be moving forwards. And that's a common thing of the best venture investments ever made.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
I think also, just want to say on the enterprise use case. So if I was a CEO or like the CTO of a large enterprise company, I wouldn't think in terms of, oh, how can we make our engineers more productive? I would think in terms of how can we get the most information about what we should build as quickly as possible into new products, into our existing products. And that requires everyone in the company to be able to work in one place to change and edit their products and propose new changes to it. And it's hard for us and for anyone in that matter to build a product that does that like tomorrow. It's better for us to start with the founders who are building it from the ground up and then move it into the enterprise, the same experience into the enterprise.
It also allows for this incredible democratization of ideas within companies. I interviewed the CPO at Duolingo for 20 Product, and he actually said how two designers, not traditionally ones who actually come up with obviously building products from day one, created chess in Duolingo. And they did it with, I can't remember what the tool was. I hope it was Lovable. Please say it was Lovable. And that was actually their first iteration of it, which I thought was an amazing instantiation of this. So I totally get you there. Does that mean then that we lose the design process and the brainstorming process? Do we skip that and go straight to prototyping?
Yeah, look, so to date, what you've done is that you've taken an idea and then you went through many steps until it's like a fully fast-growing product. And I call that the product life cycle. One part of it is writing the code, which is like where AI now has made it much faster. There are many steps after that. There's steps before that, which is to like mock it up, validate it internally, validate it with your users. And what we've done so far is to take all the first step until like, this is validated, this is what we need to ship. And even we have even external users on it into one few minutes or a few hours of building. So that's where we've seen like there's the most maturity on our product. The steps that come after is something we have to build out as fast as possible so that you don't need like a product design engineering organization. It's all one tool where anyone with the best ideas spend their most time.
The steps after or the steps before? And what I mean by the steps before is you see at the other end of the spectrum Figma doing Figma Make, where they're like, hey, we'll always have the design process and then we'll move with you into the second phase of that product life cycle, into the build or prototype phase from design to prototype. To what extent do you worry about entry from that earlier standpoint?
Entry from Figma?
Entry from Figma, given the fact that they own the design part of the phase, to just then move into prototyping.
So I think humans are sometimes too obsessed with small details being perfect, and which makes you move much slower. And the way of doing it right now with the design, one person does all the design very slowly, very detailed, is going to be replaced by AI doing. You talk much more high level, and you talk about your design philosophy, and then the AI does the implementation of design. And then you, as a human, go out and get all the context from do other people think this looks good, and give it all as feedback into the AI. And then there's a very seamless, opinionated way of taking it all the way to a product with all the marketing and growth functions built in the AI behind it, as well as all the tooling you need to evolve a high quality software product, which comes like testing, quality assurance, and so on. And that's a new way of doing it, and thinking you should be doing design with Make and like the Figma tools is for most people. My thesis is that it will slow you down too much. Does that make sense?
It does. What happens to Figma then?
I think for some pixel perfect things, it's going to be amazing to continue to use Figma. I don't know how the distribution will look like in terms of doing it with a more opinionated way, which is what our platform is becoming, versus how many companies want to continue to do it like you do it now in a tool like Figma.
Do you think you're opinionated enough?
I think that our tool enables a lot of flexibility at the cost of some velocity on our product development. But I think it's a pretty good sweet spot. You can build with Lovable, and then any engineer can come in and edit and take over if they want to. So I think, yes, we would be moving faster if we were even more opinionated about how things should be done.
What are you not opinionated on that you would like to be in a dream world?
Like in a dream world, we would be even more opinionated about how you build an application, and we would know what's the future of building applications, with AI being such a core part of it. I don't think it's possible because how AI works and like what's the best UX with AI for the products that are built with Lovable changes so rapidly. So at some point in the future, I'd love to be there. And what happens if we can be more opinionated is that you get the right level of detailed adjustments on how the AI works for your product, how the backend flows and workflows, automations work for your product. And now we support a lot of different things. So it's more, you need to be really good at prompting right now.
Do you think we will prompt in 5 years' time?
Yes, I think so. But maybe it will evolve in terms of how you do it. It will, like, hyper personalization takes care of a lot of detailed prompting that we have to do today.
What does that mean?
So prompting is basically providing context to an AI of what your goals are and how you want it to do something. If it's like when you have great employees for you, right? They know everything about how you want it to work. So you just have to say, let's go to Stockholm and do a hackathon, and then it just magically becomes what you want it to be.
It pretty much does. Honestly, I sent a picture to my mother beforehand, and she's like, "You had nothing to do with that," and I'm like, "No, I did not." She's like, "I know." Right,
and you can't just tell ChatGPT or something. Just go, let's go to Stockholm and do a hackathon. It's gonna come up with something else than what you had in mind, right? And so you can either prompt it very, very detailed, or you can make sure it knows how you think. And that's what we'll be evolving towards.
We said the word opinionated, and we spoke about it with regards to the company. Dude, I love your social media presence because you're also opinionated in your social media presence. And I think it's respectfully also just quite blunt. And you've been opinionated in how you talk about competition, like specifically like a Replit of the world. How do you think about whether or not to engage in an opinionated stance against competition or not?
Look, I don't think so much about competition. The only thing that matters is that we make our product the best product, and we continue to deliver on like our value promises to our customers. If there is something that happens, so there was a competitor that like found a lot of apps that have been poorly made. And they said, oh, this is a vulnerability. And I spoke to a lot of security professionals. That wasn't really like how you would normally announce vulnerability. So then I went in and bashed them as an outcome of that. I think that was a very reactive thing, and I think it was like something I'd be happy to share in person to that competitor, like face to face.
Well, I mean, it was interesting because Jason Lemkin, who's a friend of mine, I don't know if you saw it, but he was using Replit, and then I can't remember exactly what happened, but they basically had a massive security breach, or they deleted all his database, or something bad happened, and it was like code red for them. And the takeaway for him was like, just security on all of them is just nowhere near where it needs to be. And like, it's wrong for Replit to bash Lovable. It's wrong for Lovable to bash Replit. All of you guys suck at security. Is that true?
Yes, I think they. So let me say it a different way. First of all, we talk about security like company-wide every week. Almost like every day I hear something about security because we take it so seriously. And there's so many different fronts to make it much more secure than if a human would do the application development. And that's why it's so important for us to be the best in the world at security.
So you're saying it's more secure than humans?
Not yet. I said this at some point, which is if you take your average developer who like normally works in a large team where they have a lot of support, and then that human goes out and builds an application, they are going to create software that has security holes on average. And when you build an application with Lovable, it's going to tell you to go through a bunch of security reviews, and the AI is going to do a bunch of security reviews, and finally it's going to give you green light, like we haven't found any security vulnerabilities. So if you compare those two, the like really average developer with Lovable is going to have a lower chance of having a vulnerability. And so we want to put that to 0%. We need to put that at 0% chance of vulnerability.
It reminds me of self-driving, which is like, for the world's best driver, I'm sure you are better than self-driving. But for the majority, and for the majority who are tired,
yes,
humans have the potential to be hungover, high, malfunctioning in some way, actually wildly dangerous and much, much better.
Very much so, yeah. So, yeah, I would say I'm very proud of what the team done so far with the security, but there's more to come.
So when we look at, we've spoken about many different kind of competitors in different ways, from your Figmas to your Replits. If you move forward 3 years, what does the space look like then?
Again, I think I focus on what our product does and how we serve our customers best. And I don't really predict that. If we get all the majority of the profit share in this market, that's amazing. If this is spread out across different companies, that's also fine, as long as we build a product that lasts for generations. And I do that by building the best product for our customers.
And this is why brand is so important for you.
That's how I think about it.
Do you mind if devs go to Lovable, get 60% of the code from there, and then fine-tune it? How do you feel about that?
I don't, like, from the get-go 2 years ago, I decided that I'm going to build Lovable we know for a world where humans don't write code anymore. And we're quickly moving there. We're very, very quickly moving there. Today, I don't mind at all. Like, it should be flexible. Some humans have their way of doing things, and I think it's good if you have like an ecosystem where you can use many different tools on the product. Over time, I think it will converge towards the very opinionated platform, like the ones we're building towards, and everyone's just going to look at what's the cost benefit of doing it with some other tool as well. And only using Lovable is going to be the obvious most like high velocity and high quality driving choice. That's the future.
Today, does AI make 1x engineers 10x, or does it make the 10x engineers 100x?
It does both. It really does both.
I have to force you to one.
So for the junior engineers, 1x engineers, they often are bad at something, right? If the AI can bridge that gap, it takes them from 0 to 1. And to be able to do something they were not able to do before, it's like a 10x. They go to 10x or even more. So if that's the case, then they definitely go. Then it's more valuable for them. If it's a 10x engineer that is working on something where you need a lot of like many years of experience to work on a system that a new junior engineer completely doesn't understand. The 1x engineer doesn't understand the system. Then the 1x engineer is useless. So no AI is going to increase their velocity, while the 10x engineer is going to maybe go to 100x engineer.
How will the size of engineering teams change in the next 5 years?
I think for the best companies, engineers will really act as this translation layer. They will need to be thinking more in terms of being a product manager. And I think there's like a higher elasticity on such engineers. So you might see many companies being like, oh, more engineers, we can do even more, even faster. They're out talking to the customers and changing things with AI super fast. But
do the skills required to be a good engineer then change with time?
Yes, definitely. Like, I think being a generalist becomes more and more important with everything with AI. So that you can understand how things come together as a larger whole. And then you use AI for the deep expertise that you don't need in the future as much.
When you think about skills required too, there's a lot of people who are asking today, should I bother studying computer science if we're going to see Lovable be the last software that we ever need? how would you advise your little brother questioning whether to do CS at university?
I think university is not the best place to learn. It doesn't matter what you're studying. You should be out there and really understand how the world works in terms of how work translates to value creation. And you don't learn that at university. So university is like a way to train your brain to learn new things and meet a lot of interesting people.
Would you encourage your children to go to university?
So this is now 20 years in the future, pretty much. Oh, so it's hard to say to say something about 20 years in the future. I think it's a great experience to have had in life. So why not? But it depends on what outcome you want to reach. If you want to have a job where you make the most money, no, they shouldn't go to university.
I think the opportunity cost of those years is very high.
True.
Yeah, in the UK in particular, we just get very drunk for 3 years.
Yeah.
And that's generally how it is. And we generally study generalist subjects like geography and history. And honestly, it is a little bit of a waste of time, in which case you can utilize those years so much better, given your stamina, your energy, the plasticity of your brain at that age, which is why I highly advocate against it.
I agree. I mean, if you just do a very, very specialized job for those years, maybe you'll become less of a generalist. So that there's a trade-off there, as well, of course. While as university, you're exposed to many different concepts, which can be useful.
We mentioned earlier AI in enterprise. When you look at the biggest enterprises today, they're not able for data, for permissioning, for security to use AI. Are we going to see the biggest shift in incumbent power in the next 10 years?
So you mean if they're not enabled, there's someone else that will come in and be enabled?
Exactly.
I think you see this in banking, like for example, where a bank is a software company, right? It's all about software systems, and the old banks are moving much slower. I think, yes, there is going to be some companies that are like built ground up for an AI to change their systems, and anyone who's exposed to like customers understanding the legal requirements and so on can move much faster in creating a good customer experience. So yes, I imagine there are also some benefits of having been around for a long time in the enterprise. In like banking, there's a certain element of trust and so on. So I don't know how large the shift is going to be in like across different segments of the enterprise market. But many companies will get disrupted by cheaper, much better alternatives.
It's interesting. You said there about trust. How loyal do you think Lovable users and customers are? Do you think there's a high propensity to switch and an ease to switch? Or do you think people fundamentally are loyal?
It's 50-50. Like some people are just super loyal to a brand. Many people, I mean, if you do something that hurts your brand, they will switch, and they're just out there looking for maximizing some kind of cost versus capabilities objective. So there's like you can do you can think about both of those groups simultaneously. But if you have the best product with the best value, you're going to get everyone.
What question, we spoke about kind of people being threatened, large incumbents. What question should large CEOs, business leaders be asking today about the future of AI in their companies and how they use it that they're not asking, do you think?
I think one of the biggest bottlenecks for these companies is going to be some kind of change management for the humans in the organization. And I think they should be asking, how have similar companies to ours done change management very, very, very rapidly? And get that conversation into the leadership room, and then maybe across the entire organization to study those examples of where change management has been very successful, and then look at specifically which AI tools should we be using. Should we be adopting, like building our product on top of Lovable 100% because then everyone can collaborate, or should we should we hire some new type of people that come in and upskill everyone?
You said about speed there. You said about talent earlier. Bluntly, dude, I get really fed up with everyone saying that Europeans are about espresso and taking the summer and it's August and July, we're not going to work. And I advocate for a very aggressive work culture, which, is 996
Yep.
and how I say that. How do you feel about the importance of unwavering hard work over balance in the desire to win?
I think over a 10-year period, I would advocate for some balance.
Yeah.
But if over a 2-year period, if you really care about something, then you should make sure that you have you get your exercise, you sleep in really, really well, and maybe something that relaxes you, and then just work your ass off. That's what you should be doing.
Do you agree then with Scott from Cognition, who clearly said to all windsurf employees after hiring them or buying the company, it's 6 days a week, it's unwaveringly relentless, and if you don't want to sign up for that, you can leave?
I would say, in how we think about it, is that you are here to have 10x impact over the other people at other companies. And if you don't have 10x impact, you do that by being very talented, being good at your job, and being very focused. And for some people, you need to put in a shit ton of hours, but not for everyone. So I would prefer. I'd speak about: Am I seeing the impact? Am I seeing that? If you would tell me you're leaving tomorrow, I would be like, no, you are such an important part of this company. You have to stay. And that's how I push performance and impact.
Do you do the keepers test?
Yeah, we do the keepers test.
Has it made you change how you construct teams?
The keepers test?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it always makes it clear to people that I need to always figure out, how can I have more impact? So that's one part. And then, I think in terms of what does this organization look like if it's in the, is it optimally set up to succeed right now? And I don't do culture is such an important part. If you just throwing people around too much, it hurts the culture and the ways of working. But doing this business exercise of saying, who is this organization set up perfectly to win, definitely shapes how I build the organization.
You mentioned Nick earlier at Revolut. Yeah. He gave me the best answer, I think, ever on culture. I've done 3,000 shows. And when culture comes up, it's like first principles thinking. I'm like, fuck it, we'll edit this bit out. Always. But he said the best thing ever. He said, I don't think about culture, I think about winning. The single biggest determinant of human happiness is growth and development. And when you are winning, you are most optimally positioned to grow and develop. And so if I create the conditions to win, you will grow and develop. And then supporting that, the other thing that people like to do is accumulate wealth as well as development.
Yep.
And you will accumulate that by winning because of your share price increase. That's
a good quote.
It's a really good way to think about it. And I think it's the same, which is if we win, everyone will be happy. There's very few places where they're losing every day, day in, day out, and blissfully happy.
Yes.
It doesn't happen. Okay. What's not great about your culture today, if you could change it?
So there's a certain personality type that takes a lot of initiative. They're very, very excited about new ideas and doing novel things. And as your company matures, that is still an important ingredient, but you need the first priority to make what you have high quality, to continue to be high quality and improve the quality across everything you're doing. And I want us to be even more memifying. Let's improve the quality. Let's improve how we do things. Move slow so that we can move really, really fast.
And you want to be more thoughtful around where you spend time and where you don't?
Yeah, so there's this cowboy versus farmer analog where a farmer is optimizing things for the long term, and I think we can do a bit more of that, optimizing things for the long term. But we always strike the balance of doing innovating.
Do you think you're in that phase of company build yet? I actually prefer the optimize for the short term. I don't know if you spent much time in China or with Chinese development teams, but they are unbelievable in their psychology around build. They optimize for the short term incessantly and then just sticky tape the shit, sticky tape the shit, sticky tape the shit. And that is often how they're able to do so much so fast.
I think if you have super clear product market fit, you have a brand to defend, yes, you cannot stick issue tape everything. you can do that in like sprints to move fast, to innovate, but you really need to focus on like, are these pieces well together? Spend a lot of time on moving things around in the organization, in your product, so that it has high quality, maintains high quality, and you can build faster upon that foundation.
Can you imagine if Apple were like, oh, fuck, we deleted your cloud, sorry.
Yeah, that's very good.
How bad. I said earlier about like Europe and summer and not moving fast enough. You said before that it is better to build in Europe. And I don't want this to be like an advert for Europe. But why do you think it's better to build in Europe?
I think there are many good things about Europe. There are also good things that are better in the US, for example. I mostly think about, I want to prove that you can build a generational product, a generational company team from Europe, and part of it is on hard mode. And I think
what parts are on hard mode?
So hard mode is the network isn't as great in how many individuals and companies that have worked on and have context for like all the different stages of building an amazing multinational company.
Completely agree. There are no Elena Werners in Europe.
Yeah.
Or very few.
Maybe we'll get here soon. But I think that's hard mode. I think like access to capital, people that will quickly give you a lot of distribution, help you with distribution and brand.
Do you think access to capital is a genuine problem? I think there's so much money in Europe that actually it's a problem.
As I said, it's not a bottleneck for us, no.
Yeah.
It's not.
And you're going to start to see very soon, I'm sure you're probably already seeing it, but Lovable spin-outs, where anyone who leaves Lovable will get a term sheet straight away.
100%. True. I think, why it's better to build in Europe?
Yeah.
We're the best talent. Okay.
So you said the hard things there is like, number one, what was number one again? Sorry, it wasn't.
There's a network, and the individuals that have done it before.
Yeah, that's one thing.
Yeah,
is that it?
I think it's easier to get distribution to be on like the center world stage in San Francisco and New York. But we've been able to pull that off from Stockholm, which is a good proof that you can do it from here. And then in the US.
Why do you think you've been able to do it? I have my theory on why I think you've been successful.
I mean, I think it's about storytelling and sharing everything we're doing at the company, and empowering other people who are using Lovable, telling their stories, a bit of that. And that's how we've been breaking through. I think we understand that you should be building in public and share what you're doing.
I think transparency is everything, and people like to follow people. And you've combined the two very well, which is you're incredibly transparent around your ARR growth. It's easy to be when it's as good as it is, but you're incredibly transparent in a way that most people aren't. And then it's led by you and your voice. And the two combinations of like cult of personality, you and Anton, you being Anton, not you in the third person, and then you and ARR growth is what really drives the success in that way. So that's kind of what's harder. What's better? Like why should everyone build their company in Europe?
I mean, we are the biggest talent magnet in Stockholm right now, which is amazing. It's much more difficult to be that in San Francisco or New York. So we can really pick up all the underutilized talent and shape their 10x their performance by being in a 10x better culture or ways of working and with amazing colleagues. So being able to be that top one is I think the biggest one. There's a culture of humility and low ego and working really well together as a team that I think is stronger in Europe, and this way of thinking in terms of efficiency and doing much more with less. That's also stronger here.
You have inherently higher churn in the Valley. When you have a bad day, OpenAI offer you a bigger package and it's I'll leave and do OpenAI. And that prevents the compounding of knowledge within teams, which I think is so valuable.
Yep.
Totally agree with you there. Would Lovable be less successful if it were in the Valley?
I honestly don't know. I think it would be very successful regardless.
Did you ever think about moving?
Yes. When I was about to start the company, everyone was of course telling me I should go to SF. But we just kept building, and we found some great people in Stockholm. So we kept building it from here. and I'm happy how it turned out.
Dude, it's been amazing. That was a decision which you made and it worked out very well. What did you do in the Lovable journey that, with the benefit of hindsight and some experience, you wish you hadn't done?
When we started, we had this idea. The vision was very clear. The sequencing was not so clear in what we should be doing. We had this open source community that was kind of excited about a tool I made a few months ago before we started the company, GPT Engineer. I think we shouldn't just like scrap that completely and be 100% focused on what's the future look like in terms of opening your browser, just building your product there, which is Lovable.
Why should you have scrapped that?
You should be very, very focused on doing.
Was it not crucial for customer development, customer feedback?
No, I don't think so. So there was, of course, a plan for how to incorporate it and get more value together. Like the open source can be very useful for many businesses, but with the perspective of maximal focus, it was just a bad idea to do two things that were like a bit too tangentially related. So that's definitely one thing. And we talk a lot about doing one thing, finding the bottleneck for the company, and solving for that bottleneck is the best way to move really, really, really fast.
What is the bottleneck that you'll be discussing in the board tomorrow?
I think the bottleneck for our long-term future is how we identify the technical product, so engineers that will take the product to its next phase and innovate on many, many fronts at the same time. That's on the long term. If you think about the product today, it's giving our AI more capabilities that are really like make it really polished user experience and give it more of those capabilities so that you can build out your full company, grow your business on top of Lovable. And then I think a bottleneck is for how we serve all this extreme amount of enterprise customers love and pull from them at the same time as we focus. Like probably one is for founders building on Lovable.
Will Lovable have an enterprise sales team?
Yes.
And become an enterprise company?
It will not become an enterprise company, but it will have an enterprise sales team.
Are you nervous
what is
about
that? Yes, I'm not so nervous about it. That is just about talking and understanding your customers, making sure they have the tools to get value from the products. That is how I see that part. And there are, of course, many enterprises, like top-down enterprise sales team that hustle themselves to wine and dine CEOs. That's not what we're going to do.
What is the hardest role to hire for you?
So I think hiring engineering leaders is very difficult because it's so hard to predict how their past performance will translate to our organization.
Have you made mistakes on hiring?
Yes, I've made some mistakes.
What did you do that you wish you hadn't done on hiring?
I wish I was in the details and not delegate too much, and I wish I was more proactive about like, does this person want to reach the outcomes? Are they excited, inherently motivated about the outcomes that this role is going to be, where it's going to be most important for that role to reach those outcomes?
I think something that's really interesting when you say about kind of leaders there is I thought of your co-founder, actually, who was in the video for the OpenAI release.
Yeah.
And what struck me with that is, respectfully, it was one of the first times I've seen him front and center, not you. How do you think about exposure between the two of you, given you are very much the face of Lovable?
I think I'd love for Fabian to have more exposure, but I also want him to be focused on building the product. And that's what he focused on. And it's probably much easier for people to relate to Lovable if they see one person and keep seeing that one person. And to date, that is me. And I think it will continue to be me.
What do you think is the biggest secret to a successful co-founding pair scaling at the speed of Lovable scaling?
I think the most important thing is just the raw horsepower and adaptability of the founders. And then, like, if those are maxed out or if those are high, I mean, you must be able to work together with, like, if you have sufficiently low ego, it's going to work. But if you really want to work extremely well together, I'll take an example, which is Fabian and me. He's like not very big on doing some weird new way of doing things. He's just like simplify it as much as possible. He's quite introvert and quiet until he's like has really shaped an opinion about what's the most important thing. And I'm on the polar side of the spectrum, and saying, Fabian, we should use this new crazy thing. And that like polarity is actually very productive for both of us.
When you think about that, and then you think about you're married and very happily married, when you think about successful marriages, what makes the marriage so successful?
I mean, me and Fabian, we can talk about anything, and that's extremely productive. And we can talk about turning every stone and challenging each other around anything. And we have a lot of like humility. I think that's very valuable and very important. And the same is true in my marriage.
Humility,
yes, a lot of humility. I talk about my faults a lot in my marriage, for example. And
does success make marriage harder or easier?
I mean, if you have 0 hours to spend time with your partner, it makes it more difficult. I don't see.
I also look at 90% of relationships often struggle, and a lot of arguments is based on money, which is an inevitable thing that's very hard, especially as cost of living goes up, and for a lot of people, that then doesn't become a problem.
True. Yeah, I don't think for us it was never a problem.
Has it changed your marriage?
Not so much, no.
Very humble Swedes, aren't you?
Yes, I haven't changed my lifestyle since Lovable was successful.
Have you not?
Maybe I think less about monetary decisions, but no, lifestyle is pretty much the same.
What does the Lovable product look like at the end of 2026?
I mean, it's your perfect co-founder that you go to with your idea from the idea stage, but also all the way up to growing your business once you have customers and taking care of like what Elena is doing, optimizing the product for growth, optimizing the product and optimizing your communication with your customers, be it through email or through different marketing channels.
So you eat the whole stack then?
Yeah, it's one opinionated way to do the entire product lifecycle.
So you do everything from email marketing to SMS marketing and everything in between?
Yes, and I mean, obviously this is what an enterprise also wants to build their products on. But in the interim, they're using it for individuals, like people in teams, building out ideas that the enterprise companies should be doing. And they're doing that very, very, very productively.
Is benchmarking for models bullshit and evaluations bullshit? I had Edwin from Surge on the show. Do you know Surge? It's like the scale AI competitor, but it's actually phenomenally successful. It's never raised $1 and it's $1.2 billion in revenue.
Wow.
It's unbelievable.
Wow.
And he was like, the benchmark evaluations are bullshit.
I mean, they turn more and more bullshit over time. There's something called Goodhart's law. So when you start optimizing for a number, that number stops being a good measure for success, even if it was a great number for a measure of success previously. So that happens like with all benchmarks over time, in some sense.
What metric within Lovable means less over time?
So it means less if we start optimizing for it, right? And like as one example where it means less, I guess, is how many people click the thumbs up button on messages, because then we can, I don't know, say fun jokes or whatever that for some reason just triggers people to be more, or just asking the human, click the button, click the put up button if you want to do it, and then we're hacking the metric, right? So that's just one example.
Dude, we're going to do a quick fire round. I'm going to hit you with some incredibly unfair questions and you can give me your thoughts, okay? What wildly held belief about AI do you think is just very wrong?
I think AI is smarter than humans, and most people don't agree.
Do you not think they do now?
I think most people don't agree. And the reason is that oftentimes it's very, very stupid. That's very stupid. But if you give it all the context, or you build a purposeful system for what they are stupid at, it's smarter than humans.
Do you think we will see a plateauing, or do you think we will see a continuous exponential progression curve?
I think we'll see plateauing on the things that we care about, which is a lot of nuance and like being good at all the different things at once in the same model. There's probably
But people are
some ways,
looking at GPT-5 now and saying, we're hitting a stage where
Yeah.
actually improvements are much more incremental.
I mean, I think we're like what we've seen so far is like the sigmoid curves across many different dimensions at the same time, and yeah, we're going to see a plateauing. There's some sigmoid curves where I think we're still in this like exponential phase of the sigmoid curve. So it and those could be something like science and engineering and like bioengineering, where AI is just going to continue to like exponentially become extremely powerful and generate a lot of new medicines and new ways of treating health.
Grok, Anthropic, OpenAI. You can invest in OpenAI at 380, Anthropic at 180, and Grok at I think it's 100. Which one do you invest in, and which one do you short?
I'd invest in Grok, and I would short. What was the numbers again?
380 and 180.
Okay, and 100. I would probably short Anthropic because no, I would short OpenAI. Let's say.
Why? Why would you buy that Grok and short OpenAI?
I think it's more the slope on the Grok team. They're doing something which I respect a lot, which is to hire missionaries for the data curation part, and they call it AI tutoring. And they, I think the morale is much better in that team than both of the other teams. The morale is super high. OpenAI has gone through all this mess, right? Anthropic has good morale as well. And they're growing faster on the enterprise side from what I'm hearing.
Do you think OpenAI wins the consumer in terms of like next generation Google, and Anthropic wins the developer and the enterprise?
No, I think it's going to be unknown. There's going to be something else happening that we don't know what it is.
Do you think that there will be a leading model that has not been created yet?
Yes, from China.
Do you worry about China?
I think Chinese companies are not as good as really understanding your users, so not very more worried. I do think there's like a 50-50 chance they will have the best model. We'll be using a Chinese model at some point, and that makes me a bit concerned because
would you use Chinese models at Lovable?
If we would,
yeah,
and I would have to look into the details and see like what's bad about that. Do we give them data we don't want to give them? But I mean, we just want to do what's best for our customers. If that's going for a Chinese model and there's no negatives, yes.
I completely agree. I think also just like the multitude of models coming out of China is just terrifying. When you look at every week, there's like 4 new ones and they're all as good as the last one.
Yep.
And the speed of distillation is just fucking insane. Are the models of the future open or closed? Like which model wins?
I think the best ones will always be closed. But if you want maximal flexibility and some kind of open ecosystem around it, it might be that the open ones are the ones that most people choose.
You can have dinner with anyone, dead or alive. Who do you have dinner with and what do you ask them?
I think I would have dinner with Newton because he was like religious and super smart, and just like talk about how it was in his age and why he's religious. He's super like he invented so many different things, and he's a bit of a role model. And he's dead, so I can't meet him unless I say him now.
Sorry, I can't help with that one. There's no intro there that would work. That's amazing. What AI company do not enough people pay attention to? Like I said, Surge for me is one, which is like scale AI, but fundamentally a much better business. Barely anyone knows it, and it's ridiculous. Which company does no one pay attention to that everyone should pay attention to?
I think the browser companies are interesting. So there's Strawberry here in Stockholm. There's the Dia and the Perplexity now. I'm very excited to see what happens to other of those companies.
What do you think happens to Perplexity?
What happens to them?
Yeah.
So they want to create the phone, I think, and I think that's a good bet.
You think it's a good bet? Would you invest in them at 18 billion?
18 billion. It depends on what options I have.
That's amazing. Your laugh there just kind of said it all. No. That's very funny. Who's been the single most instrumental person for Lovable not in the company?
It's Zhenya at Accel. Zhenya, he ran sales and like CEO at Miro, and he was at Dropbox at Segment, and I get a lot of input and help from him.
What's been the biggest?
I think just talking about like he's just my coach, and I talk about like how I think about things, and then he asks me questions and tells me, Anton, you have to step up in this like a bit of structure in this area.
I love him. I had him on 20 sales and he was fantastic. What have you changed your mind on most? Penultimate one. So I thought that, Bluntly, you'd see the commoditization of model performance and models, and actually value accrual would be very difficult and there'd be a race to the bottom. I think that's clearly very wrong and very stupid of me to have ever thought that, and there'll be very valuable model providers. What did you believe that you're like, that was wrong?
In the context of Lovable, I thought we should be building an agent before like the models were ready for it, and because the models were starting to get optimized for an agentic system. And what I realized is that no, you need to have a product that as many people as possible are using today, so that you can optimize not necessarily the AI, but optimize the entire user experience for those users, and get that's your data flywheel that you want to use.
Do you worry about job displacement at scale in a 10-year time period?
So I worry about us humans globally not even understanding what we want to achieve on this planet. And if there's a lot of rapid change with like white collar workers being out of a job, and like humans, we get super worried and concerned and scared, all hell is going to break loose. So that's what I'm worried about. But if we're a bit more thoughtful in terms of like, okay, if there would be insane amount of job displacement, this is kind of what we think we should do. And this is what we want to achieve. This is how we make sure people like can make some made up job in the interim. Then we would 100% solve that.
8 out of the top 10 paying jobs today did not exist 15 years ago. I always think that's an interesting stat. And we always overestimate job displacement with new technologies.
Yeah.
Interesting one.
I think we're going to have like maybe a shift away from some very glamorous jobs, which people will get depressed by, like similarly to how being like an artist was like so fucking cool, but clearly you can't make any money as an artist. And we're going to see that again now for a lot of knowledge work, and that's going to be fine.
My kids, brain surgeons. No AI is going to come from brain surgeons for years. Come on.
Maybe. No. Have you seen the robots though? The surgeon robots, they're pretty good.
I'm going to be honest. You're not having people be like, I'm going to choose the robot version of that.
Yeah.
Not for a while.
It's a good job.
Is there anything else that concerns you with AI when you look forward?
I think, again, us humans, we're very, very good at competing. And in many cases, that's amazing. Like that's how we get all the best companies. Also, we get great technology. But in some cases, like we're competing, and then we go to war with each other, or like we start preparing for wars. And I think if we can be better at thinking big picture across superpowers, that would prevent the scenario where you have like a AI that can kill all people in the other nation in an instant, and like that being triggered without us actually wanting that to happen. So I'm concerned that us being so competitive in a world where things happen much faster is going to lead to some unexpected results that no one really wants.
Which competitor do you most respect?
I think OpenAI is pretty good at building products. I think there's other foundation model labs that will do even better at building products, and those are the ones we should think about for the future. But mainly focus on just what do our users want, how do we make a better product.
But you must look across your Figmas, your Bolts, your Replits. Who do you respect most?
I respect Figma. Yeah.
Figma.
Yeah.
Why?
Because they're good at listening to their users and building a good product. And if they can translate that to the full product lifecycle, I think they're a very formidable competitor.
Everything goes to plan, okay? We hit all of our numbers and everything works. If that is the case, where then is Lovable in 2030, 5 years' time?
We're the mostly used interface for humans to AI. And that's a very huge market.
Dude, it's so much better doing it in person. I've so enjoyed this. Thank you so much for agreeing to do it in person, and I've loved it, man.
It was fun.